Craft Brew Sports Cincinnati Style is brought to you by Minuteman Tickets. Football's back, everybody, and there's only one spot you should be heading to get your college football or NFL tickets, and that's Minuteman Tickets. We love Minuteman. They're Ohio guys, they're sports fans, and they're not going to screw you over like other ticketing places. It's not just football. They got it all. Baseball, hockey, theater, rib cook-offs. It doesn't matter. Hit them up, MinutemanTickets.com, or give them a call, 614-943-3000, and avoid all of the fees. Tell them you heard about them right here on Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Craft Brewed Sports Cincinnati Style. This is where we break down all things Cincinnati sports and the heartbreak that goes along with it.
Heartbreak City.
I am Mike. With me, as always, is Scott. Joe behind the computers. Joe, how you doing back there, bud?
What it do, baby?
Never gets old. Never gets old. Scott, how you feeling this week, man?
Better than the Bengals, but that's not saying much.
It feels good to be back after a week off. Like I really missed the show last week, especially when we had like a chance to talk about maybe they're gonna do. Nope, they didn't. They didn't do it again. Another one where they didn't.
Another
come through.
tease.
We'll get into that Bengals talk. We're going to talk some UC football because that is the bright spot of Cincinnati sports right now is UC football after their big win against UCF, taking down Scout Team Radio's team. So huge story coming out of UC there. Very nice. That's awesome. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about how long is Luke Fickell really going to last at UC?
It's a good question. Would seem short term with the success.
We'll get into that. Also, I want to get into some FC Cincinnati contract moves, getting into the offseason and looking ahead into 2020. And then maybe, if there's time, we'll finally talk about some Xavier talk on this show. It's been a while. We haven't brought up Xavier yet. As two Xavier guys, I'm really excited that Let's Get to Your Madness.
I know. Homers.
Oh, we're going to go all Homer when it comes to Xavier talk on this show. So let's get right into it because we don't have a lot of time on this show. But I want to get into the Bengals because we have two games to recap. We have the loss against Arizona and then the loss against Baltimore.
And then the loss against somebody.
So let's talk some Bengals here as we move forward in this awful season. I do have to say, I met Zac Taylor. And I'll tell you about that here in 1 second. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
You've teased that twice now. I really want to know.
Everybody's going to beat him. 0-16. It's coming down. So we talked about it on our regular show. My son is in a 3 and 4 year old soccer league, and the Friday before the Arizona game, I'm standing there. We're the only ones there from the team. And I see this guy walking up with his daughter. And I'm like, that looks like Zac Taylor. And he walks up and he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm Zac. I was like, hey, coach, how's it going? And he like gets this smile on his face like, oh, okay, you know who I am. Cool.
He's like, oh, I know who I'm dealing with. Good.
Right. So, yeah, his daughter plays on my son's soccer team. He was there just being a dad. And I remember in the first show you had talked about when you guys got to interview him on Flying Pigskin, that he seemed really down to earth, seemed like a cool dude.
Laid back, chill.
And here's the problem. I can't connect with the man. Like normally if I meet another dad at these soccer games, I'm always like, hey man, how's it going? They're like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, yeah, Bengals suck, right? Like I have no way to connect to Zac Taylor. Like I can't.
So,
like he doesn't want to talk about
tough, huh?
He doesn't want to
How
talk
about
football,
this
right?
weather we're having?
Right. It's so awkward because he doesn't want to talk about, and it was clear he did not want to talk about football. Like he introduced himself as Zac to everybody, and it was really funny. At one point, he's talking to this other mom on the team, and we're like BS, and I was like, so how is it in Cincinnati? You liking it here? And he's like, oh yeah, we're adjusting. It's a big change, but we're liking it. His mom was like, oh, where'd you come from? He was like, LA, and we were in Miami a little bit before that. She's like, oh, wow, that's different. This lady was oblivious. She had no clue who she was talking to. She's like, traffic's probably better, right? Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, the Midwest, right?
Totally oblivious to who this man was.
Jesus.
And then she finally, like, there's a lull in the conversation. She's like, so what do you do for a living?
Vacuum salesman.
Well, he just went, oh, I'm a football coach. Like, which is, when you're the head coach of an NFL team, that is like the most modest, down-to-earth, don't talk to me about football answer I've ever heard in my life of, I'm a football coach. And she was like, oh, that's cool. And then you see the light bulb go off, and she's like, oh.
Hello, lady. Good God,
I'm
man.
over there just dying laughing. I think he caught me laughing because, it was so awkward and so. But yeah, I can't connect to this man. I can't.
How dense do you have to be, though, to not just.
She had no idea what was going on. It was the best. It was so entertaining.
That's funny, though, that there's that type of innocence, though, amongst people that are just like, oh, this is just a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end, did you just give him like a, hey, go get him next week? Did you give him any like little pep talk, shake hand, let's go, rah-rah?
Yeah, so I was like, as they were leaving, because his daughter was crying, so they left early, because that's what happens in 3- and 4-year-old soccer is kids just melt down, and parents are like, well, that's enough. See you guys next week. And we just leave. So he like grabs his daughter, and he's like, we'll see you guys. And I was like, all right, coach, bring home a W. And he like kind of gave me a wave, like, shut the hell up. I don't, okay, whatever. And then just sort of walked off.
Should have been like, it won't all be as bad as that 49ers game. We'll see you later.
Should have been like, hey, coach, it's Kyler Murray. We got to win this one, right? Nope, we don't.
Whoops.
Here's the thing about that game, since we didn't get to talk about it this week. That was the first time that the offense did their job at the end of the game. They came down the field, they scored, they took the lead. Andy Dalton runs it in, has the most vicious spike I've ever seen from a Bengals player in my life. He was so pumped up, and then the defense lets him down.
Well, and more importantly, it was the first game that we felt confident that they had a legit chance of winning, and then they lose by a single point. And so it proved that we were on the correct trajectory.
It was 3 points. It was 3 points.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they came down to kick the field.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But either way, it just, it's one of those things where, like, that's maddeningly frustrating after getting blown out in the other games, and it just, you can wrap your head around more games that you're like, well, they never really had a chance. So here's a billion things that went wrong, but it's like, oh, everything went right up until that final drive when the other team had to drive all the way down the field, and they only had to get one stop, and
they did, yeah, and they did that. And Kyler Murray looks like people are like, Kyler Murray figuring it out. No, the Bengals just totally crapped the bed. Kyler Murray did nothing in that one. The Bengals just were awful in one series. The defense all year long, I've been like, actually, the defense isn't bad. The defense is doing all right, and then they go and do that. And then the Ravens game. comes up.
I still feel like overall, though, the defense has done their job, but it's the problem of
they're on the field the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when they play,
possession is ridiculous.
When they play 3 quarters out of 4 every single game, there's only so much they can do. So if they finally let up at the end, you're like, well, it was bound to happen just based off fatigue.
Yeah, exactly. That's enough about the Arizona game because it's old news. It's so disappointing.
Let's talk about that record-setting Ravens game.
I knew going in that Lamar Jackson was going to look like a beast in that game, and he sure amazing. Did. Threw for 236 yards, rushed for 152.
First quarterback in NFL history to pass for over 250 yards and rush for 150 yards. Congrats, setting history.
One of these days, my teams are not going to be on the wrong end of those stats. One of these days. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it always feels like my teams are the ones that are like, hey, by the way, here's a highlight reel of somebody doing amazing things. Oh, yeah, that's your team playing defense looking like crap. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson just dominates in that game. And as crazy as it was, as balling out as Lamar was, the game was fairly close. 23-17, like the Bengals were there.
You open up with a 92-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. You're like, this is ours. Like, yes.
But the only thing was, though, even as close as the score was, and as quick of a start as the Bengals got out to, it just felt like the Ravens were toying with them ultimately. Like, they could have scored more if they wanted to, if they needed to, and when the Bengals did get ahead, oh, okay, cool. boom, 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 score. So it was never really in doubt, even though the Ravens didn't put up a ton of points. And I think the announcers even questioned at one point, like, shouldn't this be more out of hand?
It did feel like it was a blowout.
Because it felt like it was. And again, if the Ravens if you told the Ravens, you're going to need to score 60 to win this game, they'd have been like, okay, cool, no problem. And they would have done it. But they needed to score 23, and that's what they did.
Well, and the Bengals continuing to follow the offense, just unable to do anything. Time of possession in this one, the Ravens had the ball for almost 40 minutes out of that game.
That's such... Well, and what happens is you're running the ball, right? And you're just like getting these short gains, but they're enough to keep moving the chains. And so the clock's just continuously running. You're getting 4-yard gain, 4-yard gain, 4-yard gain, first down, 4-yard gain, first down, 4-yard gain.
Right.
And it's just... So the clock just never stops. Like the game felt like it was moving really quickly.
It really did go
but
quick.
when you're doing all those running plays, that's what happens. Like the clock never stops. And God, Lamar Jackson is something, man.
He's good.
He's glides.
Real good.
And when he throws, it
such
looks
a good
effortless.
looking running back. He's a really
Stop. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
No, it's a joke. It's just a joke.
I know.
I think he's
but there are people who actually believe
he
that.
threw for 252. Like
Right.
he's clearly a good quarterback as well. He's going to give this division fits. It's going to be fun to see that Cleveland-Baltimore matchup in this division.
Okay.
That's what it's going to be
and so
fun to see.
speaking of Cleveland, so Cleveland loses again. And
Joe, how you feeling?
Seattle won. Or not Seattle. I'm sorry, the Steelers. Steelers won, but both teams are only 2-4. As bad as the Bengals have been, with no wins, they're only 2 games back of being in second place. Like, how insane is that? As bad as it feels and as like hopeless as it feels overall, they're still only 2 games away from being in first, and they haven't played the Browns yet.
Yeah, but in those 6 games they've played, they've only scored 97 and gave up 159.
Now that's a problem. That's a huge
that's
problem.
A big issue.
But
that's a big
still,
issue.
in the win column, they're only 2 games out of second
but the
place.
points against, if you look at it, Cleveland has given up 154 points. So the Bengals are right in line defensively with what Cleveland's doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Ravens,
I was going to say, the Ravens defensively aren't
much
that
better.
great. Yeah.
So it's just this dog crap offense that we keep trotting out there. At what point do you finally say, as Zac Taylor, and maybe I'll ask him at the next soccer game that he's at,
you got to get the inside scoop.
it might be this week because they're back at home. Like, that was the other question the lady asked. So it's like a church league. It's for some church about Lookout.
Wait, you're in a church league?
Yeah, I mean, it's, CYO type thing where they're like, anybody can play, whatever, it's fine.
Okay.
So the lady was like, do you guys go to the church here? And he was like, I'm kind of busy on the weekend, so my wife's gone. That was before he announced that he was a football coach.
Any way around saying, look, lady, I'm the head coach of the Cincinnati
Bengals. I coach the Bengals. Can you back up and let me watch my daughter play soccer?
Sundays I'm really busy. I travel a lot. I came here from LA. Anything else you want me to say besides I'm the head coach of the Bengals? You got any other brain busters for me? Good God.
So how long do you think it is until they get that first one? They got Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars coming in, then Rams, Ravens, Raiders, Steelers, Jets.
Jaguars don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore. I feel good about this weekend.
I actually thought that
I'm feeling good.
I thought good about that before this though, because Ramsey was doing the whole my back it hurts. So it's not like Ramsey was going to be a factor anyway. But this is another winnable game for him. Like,
but we said that like 5 times so far.
I know, but I'm saying like when you look at it on the whole, like I mean, Minshew is still a rookie quarterback.
Right.
Like their best wide receiver right now is a rookie, and the defense is not what it was 2 years ago when they went to the AFC Championship game. This is a winnable game for them. I don't know that they're going to win, but I expect it to be competitive again. Like, there's no way
I'm gonna be there.
The Jaguars.
Be there with Papa B. It's gonna be a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's no way that the Jaguars come in and just blow the doors off the handles. Like,
no, I feel like the Bengals are going to, with the exception of some of these games, when you figure Patriots.
There's
Steelers,
some that on paper.
There's some it's like you're going to get blown
ugly,
out. But I feel like a lot of these games, the Bengals will be in it at least at the end, where they have that chance. They're just good enough to
Can we
give
talk
us
about
hope.
that? Why is it that this team doesn't really seem to show up? Like all of a sudden they wake up in the fourth quarter.
I don't
and
know.
Things start clicking.
I don't.
And they
I have
start
no
playing
idea
better.
why that is. The offense, the offense is dormant for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, we're gonna start moving the ball, and they do, and they look good. If that offense plays
for 3 quarters, even if
2 quarters,
I was gonna say
give me a half of that, and you at least win 3 of these games that you've lost. Like that's what it comes down to. Right, they're there. Think about the 2 games that they lost. What were the 2 that they lost with the? There was the interception at the end. The Bills game, right, was the interception at the end.
Yeah.
That they were driving down. That could have been one. And then the Seahawks at the beginning of the year. That was another one that the offense just falls apart on that last drive. Those are 2 games that should be W's. Like you can't fall apart when the game's on the line like that. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And they just continually do it until they finally get one. And then the defense is like, our turn to collapse. Great. Thanks, guys. The offense just hands off that baton, and the defense is like, cool, we'll look like crap now. I think the Jags, it is a game that they could win. It's also a game where this Gardner Minshew mania can just spike up again because he hasn't looked good recently. Like he's been looking pretty average.
Been pedestrian,
right,
for what he was doing.
This will be the one where he throws for 500 yards, and people are like, "Well, let's do the Chuck Norris jokes again with Gardner Minshew."
I think more worrisome because it seems like that was their problem, especially against the Ravens and against the Niners. Is Leonard Fournette is capable of being a 200-yard rusher on a day. And so since they have problems against the rushing game, like, Gardner Minshew can do whatever he wants, but if Leonard Fournette decides, oh, hey, he's going to go off.
That's the game plan against the Bengals. Just run the ball.
Right.
Because you're going to rack up a ton of yards.
Sure. And so that to me is the biggest concern. Like, Minshew can look pedestrian, but if Leonard Fournette has a day, then they'll win just because they kept the ball forever.
There you go. Team stats, the Bengals are allowing 185 rushing yards per game in a pass first league.
Yeah, in an era where it's
that
air
nobody
raid.
runs the ball.
Air raid.
And if you think that means they're not giving up a whole lot of passing yards, you'd be wrong because it's still 250 passing yards a game. So they are just
they are actually a Lamar Jackson offensive day.
Yeah. Pretty much
Every game out.
every single game. Yep, every single game.
Every day, every week they're like, Lamar Jackson, come on down. Single-handedly do what you do to us, offense. Wow, that's nuts.
It's not good. And that's the crazy thing. You look at these stats, because there was somebody in the Craft Root Sports group that was debating whether to start Lamar Jackson or Gardner Minshew. I was like, start Gardner because the Bengals defense has actually been pretty decent. And he was like, Bengals defense is ranked 31st in the league. I was like, are they really? Good Lord. I thought they were decent. Holy crap. And they are. They're like bottom of the barrel defense, but they are the bright spot on the team.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
But that just highlights how bad the offense is.
At what point do you just start the fire sale? Like, I mean, I know Mike Brown would never do it because he's a terrible owner, and apparently the cameras don't even know who Mike Brown is when they just show an old guy in the box, and they're like, hey, here's an old guy. Is that Mike Brown? Nope. Oh, well, whatever.
Close enough.
Good enough.
He's old and he's white. He fits the description.
But, like, eventually you have to just start planning for the future.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is when you've got a rookie head coach and, the guy that the woman doesn't recognize, it's hard. It's a hard sell because he's trying to get things going. He's trying to establish to just sell off everything and be like, all right, well, we're completely all in on tanking. It's hard.
Well,
you're also trying to build back faith with the fan base to a certain degree.
But I think the fans would be okay if you sell off pieces and you start stockpiling draft picks. I think the fans would be like, okay, there's a plan in place here.
They might be, except for then you also have to have the extra leap of faith of the Bengals are going to get those draft picks and then make the correct pick, which I think the fans don't have faith in that.
You sell them off and you lower beer prices by $1.50.
Sold. I'm in. I'm going to every game.
There it
Give me
is.
my season tickets.
I was going to say, that's really the key.
You lower.
They don't care what's on the
you
field
say,
if the beer's
hey,
cheap.
you know what? Goodbye. But beers are $1.50 cheaper. That's a sell, right?
Everybody's in. Everybody's in.
Speaking of sells, how many local places have made out on not having to give away?
Dude, I was kind of shocked about this because this was brought up by a friend of the show, Tabari, who pointed out that there's some crazy deals that go on when it comes to these, and
this is in local markets everywhere,
right? And companies always like get behind the team,
right?
So I went through and I was trying to look at which companies are making a good deal of money off the Bengals being terrible. And there's actually not that many offers that I found that are advertised on the Bengals site. Now, there could be other ones that aren't technically affiliated with the Bengals.
I was going to say they could be in-house that they just don't.
Right. It's like when the football team in Cincinnati wins, we won't say which one. So these are the ones that are like officially signed with the Bengals. IHOP is one where they give a free short stack when the Bengals get 10 first downs in a game. Surprisingly, the team is actually accomplishing that, even in some of those worst games.
Because when I saw that one on the list of things, I thought that's not even that hard.
10 first downs is not much.
I was gonna say for a bad team,
right.
10 first downs.
As
isn't
garbage
that
as the
much.
offense is, they are actually hitting that mark. Even in I was looking at games like the Niners game where I was like, we got killed. I think they had 12 first downs.
I was gonna say you
game.
accidentally get 10 first downs, kind of sort of.
It's a lot of time in a game to get it. They're averaging 16 first downs. That was the Pittsburgh game. They had 16 in that one. So yeah, they're getting this one. So IHOP.
So get yourself a free short stack.
Go
every
get
Monday,
that
folks.
short stack. Yeah.
Drown your sorrows of the Bengals' loss on a short stack.
Mike's Car Wash offers $5 off an ultimate wash the day after the Bengals record 2 or more sacks in a game. This is another one that is actually because the defense is doing somewhat decent. And again, 2 sacks, you can trip and fall and sack the quarterback. That's not, and 2 sacks is not a whole lot to get in a game.
Yeah.
And the defense is because the front four is fairly decent. That one's actually happening quite a bit as well.
Papa John's making out, though.
Papa John's doing what they do.
Big shocker. Big shocker, though, that Papa John's is coming out on the right side of not losing money.
Papa John's
on
has
some shady stuff.
50% off the day after a Bengals win. They have yet to honor this deal this season.
Somebody call up Shaq. I blame Shaq for this one.
That was a smart. They could have done 75%. They could have been like, free pizzas after the Bengals win. They're still going to come out on top this year.
They're like, you know what? We are taking it on the chin with all these 10 strikeout games for the Reds. Tell them it's after Bengals win. We won't have to buy any. We won't give away any pizza.
That's LaRosa's with the 10 strikeouts, but whatever.
Same
Yeah. Pizza's pizza, apparently, in your book.
Between Papa John's
how do you mix up Papa John's and LaRosa's?
Because they both are crap.
No, you haven't had LaRosa's pan style.
I have. Now,
pan style is the way to do it.
Well, not only that, LaRosa's pan style in a LaRosa's. Like if you don't have it delivered, if you get it delivered to the table,
right there. Ooh, that's the way to go.
It is fantastic.
In
fact,
I'm with you because
it's a completely different type of pizza.
It really is. Like
it's not the same at all.
I feel like
their
LaRosa's
traditional
sauce,
LaRosa's crust, like with the pizza on that flat.
Yeah.
Like the sauce tastes completely different.
So
I don't
sweet.
like it.
Yeah, it's so sweet, but that pan style, ooh.
Changer.
Mm-hmm. When we found out about that, I was like, no, we could do LaRosa's again.
Yeah. Well, the weirdest thing is it took me years of being here and having the bad LaRosa's pizza and saying I don't like LaRosa's to then just one day be in a LaRosa's and somebody ordered it and I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'm getting LaRosa's. And the pizza shows up and I'm like, well, first of all, let's cut like normal pizza, so that's different. Okay, but whatever, it's still going to be the same crap. Then I taste it, I'm like, well, what is this? Why has this been hiding? Why is this better than anything I've ever tasted at LaRosa's? And yeah, that's the way to go if you're going to get LaRosa's.
Definitely got to go.
Don't get traditional.
No, I agree. So let's talk about this dude from Indiana. There's a guy who is camping out on the roof of his bar and refuses to leave until the Bengals win a game.
The roof of his bar?
Yeah, he owns a bar. He set up camp on the roof, and he is staying there until the Bengals win.
That's diehard. He's in Indiana, too?
Yeah. So they asked him about...
he could be an Indy fan.
Also, the name of his bar is the Hog Rock Cafe.
The what? The Hog Rock? That doesn't sound appealing. That doesn't sound like a place I'd want to be at.
It's a terrible
child.
Yeah.
No, I'm just laughing because it's such a terrible. Like if you're gonna do a play on a bar, why are you gonna go off the Hard Rock Cafe? Why aren't you gonna do a play off of like a good bar? Whatever. Yeah. Anyways, Hog Rock Cafe. So he's been camping out. Campbell's actually sent him soup They were like, yeah, you're probably going to be up there for a while. Here's some soup for you, bro.
Good pub for them. Did Donovan McNabb's mom deliver it? That's what I want to know. Is Donovan McNabb's mom like, here's your chunkies?
The best was they don't even say how much it was. It just says Camel Soup delivered a large amount of soup.
2 cans.
Which is basically, no, it's basically Camel's being like, nah, bro, you're going to need this. You're going to be up here for a while. Here's a pallet. How can you want us to hoist this up? Okay, cool. Because this probably
also has no way to heat it up there on the roof. He's just eating soup out of a can.
I don't even know if he has a can opener. Like this.
Well, you don't even get the pop top.
Oh, that's
You
true.
can just drink it. But I mean, you're drinking cold soup out of a can? No thanks.
I mean, is that worse than watching the Bengals every week? Because I've kind of
put it on the poll. Drinking cold soup out of a can or watching the Bengals every week, which is worse?
What would you rather do?
Jeez.
Drink cold soup out?
That's not a toughie.
Here's the thing, too. You know, Campbell's probably gave like the like it's not their good soup. It's probably like the chunky chicken and stars soup. Like not even the chicken noodle.
Chicken and stars. Is that even a thing?
Yeah, you've never had the chunky chicken and stars?
No, I usually get just the straight chunky chicken noodle. Just the traditional with all the home style vegetables.
Well, there you go.
Delicious.
If you guys want to see a guy standing on the roof of his bar,
again?
go to Indiana to the Hog Rock Cafe. I can't even say the name. It's so stupid.
That is awful.
All right, quick predictions on the Jaguars game. Yes or no? W or no?
Yes.
No. You jinxed us before. So
man, they got to do it. They're not going 0-16. So I'm just any game that's close to winnable. I'm saying yes.
I don't think it happens because I'm going to be there. So I feel like the football.
Well, then never mind.
The football gods are going to be like, you are going to experience
You
heartbreak
screwed it.
again. Yeah. And my dad's just going to be sitting there because he's a Browns fan. So he's just going to be like,
mad-ish.
God, these guys are terrible.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how that happens or what happens in that game next week. I don't feel good about it. Let's talk some FCC because at least there's some hope on the FCC side because this week they started to announce their contracts going forward into 2020. So players were put into different groups, and you can either be like your contract is guaranteed already for 2020, you're out of contract, the team either option and executed that option or declined the option. The big story here, so Nick Hagland, who's a Xavier guy, his contract was picked up. They picked up the option for him, so he's going to be back on the team again next year. So that's pretty cool. Nick Hagland, also Xavier Hall of Fame
Keep it
inductee
local.
this year. Yes. And that's, I
If
feel
you're
like,
gonna lose a crap ton of games, might as well at least have local guys doing it. I mean, you know.
well, I feel like that's important because there's 2 names that showed up in the declining contract options, and that was Emmanuel Ledesma and Jimmy McLaughlin. Those are 2 guys who have been. Jimmy McLaughlin has been with the FC Cincinnati since they started. It feels like he was like the mascot almost, like so recognizable. Everybody loved Jimmy. His contract is being declined, although they're trying to talk options as to like what they want him to do. He's probably going to come back in like some type of coaching role. But Emmanuel Ledesma is the one that kind of surprised me because this was a dude who also came from the USL. He was, I mean, one of the top scorers there last year in the USL and performed pretty well this year. He came off the bench a lot and then ended up working his way into a starting role. And this is a dude that could be a decent MLS player if he's given the time. And it looks like FC Cincinnati is bailing on him, which is kind of surprising to me that you have a guy that like carried you to a USL regular season championship, did well for you in your first year in the MLS during 3 coaching changes, and now you're going to bail on this dude. It's kind of surprising to me that you would make that type of move.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the overall question is after how much of a disaster of a season is like what exactly do you do next? Like that's the whole thing that I'm looking at. It's like, all right, so you have your expansion year and everybody, well, not everybody because there's way too many people who thought, hey, it's going to be just like it's always been and you just waltz into success.
Right. Too many people were spoiled by an MLS roster playing in the USL.
Yeah. But, you know, now it's, well, what happens next from here and how do they just improve the overall team? So it's like, you know, these moves in the micro, you know, whether or not they matter, you know, I guess short term and getting butts in the seats, that's fine. But it's just like, what is the overall plan? Because you went through 3 head coaches this year, and everything just was a nightmare from the word go. Like, it's just been, and you're trying to get this new stadium, and like what is the goal as far as?
And I think we don't know that
forward?
yet. I think all we know is that there are names that are staying on the team that have been there and established themselves as like, these are the guys in Cincinnati for the foreseeable future.
But
Frankie Amaya is one that they're not going to get rid of. Adi is one that they're not going to get rid of right now.
How tied are they to those names as far as like the success coming in versus the success moving forward?
Right.
And
No,
just
yeah,
the
yeah.
big picture.
I think, and that's where the fact that they actually have a GM, pay attention, Bengals, where that is going to do well, because Birding relinquished those GM duties.
That was huge.
Yeah, I mean, you got a dude that has no idea what he's doing, trying to put together an MLS roster. Yeah, exactly. Why are you doing that? Like, go ahead, take your president position, build the stadium, do your fan relation BS.
What's going on.
Right. Hire somebody
Pick these players and put the team together.
So I think the fact that Birding was the GM and tried to put this team together was the biggest thing that set them off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
I still think they would have been bad this year, but they wouldn't have been as bad as they were, because it was just garbage, hot garbage. Like, the team had no identity. You were throwing out a different 11 every single night. That just felt like, we'll just put out there whoever works and we'll see what happens. Now that they actually have a GM and you're going to have some contract openings, now we can see where and I think that's where, to your point, we start to see what the future looks like, because now you're going to have a draft, you're going to have some free agent signings, and that's where we can start to kind of fill in some of these gaps where you don't have Jimmy McLaughlin, who you brought along, where it's like, hey, kid, come on, man, you're never going to play, but you're going to take up a spot on this team.
Right.
Now you can actually get somebody who might perform on the team rather than, this lame duck sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And I love Jimmy. If you search for FC Cincinnati gifts, Jimmy McLaughlin shows up every single time, because he did like funny dances and he was just the fan favorite. And it's like, yeah, you were the fan favorite in the USL. You're a USL player. Go back to the USL.
Yeah.
But isn't that just Cincy? Fall in love with the fan favorite? Todd Frazier.
Good. Yeah, that's a good point. That's what Cincinnati does. We love our fan favorites. But that's why I feel like Patty Barrett should have been the guy from the USL team that came up rather than the Jimmy McLaughlin, because at least Patty Barrett could have performed. And instead he went to, and I'm not just saying that because I'm related to him distantly.
Do that soccer.
Do that soccer. Thank you, Joe.
All right, let's switch gears then. Let's talk some UC football. Since you guys clearly are more.
I'm invested enough to know. I want to see them do
off
well.
Season.
It is off season, but that's big news. The fact that Ledesma and McLaughlin likely aren't going to be on the sidelines
for
this year
sure
is big news. That's a big thing for Cincinnati. Also, Justin Hoyt is likely gone too, which that was one of those names that people were like, damn, you got Justin Hoyt? Oh, it's old Justin Hoyt. Okay, cool. See ya.
No commentaries. Bam. Transition.
UC up to number 21 in the rankings. Big win against UCF since the last time we've been on the air. Just killing it in the American League right now. They are, I think they're near the top of the standings currently. I mean, that win against UCF was huge for them going forward. What do you think about UC? I mean, the American in general has a few teams in the top 25. Like, this is one of the few times I'm pretty sure Temple's ranked at this point. UCF is hanging on there, and then UC is in the contention as well. There you go. Thank you, Joe, for pulling up the standings. Tied for first with Temple, 5-1 overall in the American East. So UC in prime position now. Coming up this week, we got Tulsa. I'm okay with that one. UC's going to take that dub easily.
Yeah, they're at the point in the season where they should win.
The question is, do they cover that 17-point spread against Tulsa?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they'll be battling the rest of the way, is covering spreads, right? Because I mean,
I think they still have Temple on the schedule. That's going to be a big one towards the end of the season.
It'll be a big one.
And
but
Memphis,
they should still be able to they should still be favored in those games, and based on the way they've played, and in theory, they should be able to beat both of those teams.
Well, and I mean, I guess Temple is tied with them currently, and so that's gonna, if they do what they're supposed to do, because all right, Tulsa should beat Tulsa. Mm-hmm. They're a bottom feeder in the league. You got ECU coming up, another bottom feeder in the league. UConn after that, another bottom feeder. So essentially, they should. Oh, UCF is after that one, and UCF is
they're middle of the road.
middle.
Yeah.
So UCF will be the first.
SF.
Oh, what was I saying?
You said UC.
We already beat UCF.
My bad. I'm thinking my brain isn't. My mouth isn't working like my brain is. Anyways, USF, that'll be the
No,
first
your mouth
test.
is working like your brain is. That's the problem.
It's too much of this brony beer, man. That's the problem. So they're not going to really be tested until they play Temple. And then you got Temple and Memphis back-to-back before an AAC championship game. That's a tough end of the season right there between those two teams.
For sure, but when you're talking about having 3 or 4 weeks of just games where you're pretty much favored every week.
Yeah.
When you only have to get up
Fine
for 2
tuning.
the rest of the way.
Fine-tuning.
Yeah. I mean, you're working out the kinks for 4 weeks. I mean, that's a pretty good spot to be in.
All right, so UC is currently 5-1. So you got 4 games there that we're considering W's.
They should go
before
into
you
that
get to
Temple game with 1 loss.
So you're 9-1 going into that game. Let's say they beat Temple, 10-1, beat Memphis, 11-1, and you win the AAC championship.
You would probably what? Do they have a championship game?
They do. Yeah.
So
yeah.
then you'd probably go up against SMU.
Yeah, SMU, depending on it, and whatever happens in that one happens. But you're 11-1 going into an AAC championship game. Is Fickell sticking around? Because the turnaround for this team has been phenomenal under Fickell.
Well, and it's been kind of what you expected. I mean, like the progression, the natural progression of if you drew it up, like, all right, here's how it's got to go for him as far as getting guys in and turning the team around. I mean, he's kind of done that. I still think there's one more year to be had as far as, like, okay, it hurts them because of the conference that they're in. No fault of anybody's. It is the way it is. But, with the coaches before, they had the benefit of playing better teams, and so they got into a position where they could be in those better bowls at the end of the year. Because of the conference, you got to do it one more year, I think, to where you'd be 1 loss or whatever going into the end of the season, where it's like, okay, it's definitive that he's going to leave.
Here's what I think is funny.
I still think he's going to come back for another year.
I think it depends
could he leave?
on...
Sure.
It depends on which jobs open up.
Right.
I think, because looking at the coaches' hot seats, according to CoachHotSeat.com, which is the coaches' hot seat
place of coaches being on the hot seat.
Like, I would have put Willie Taggart higher. They've got him at number 7 on the hot seat, but I feel like Willie Taggart is pretty much on the hot seat at Florida State. That's a job that if it opens up,
I'm actually surprised he hasn't gotten fired.
I'm
already.
surprised too. They're really worried about their.
You say that, but Florida State being who they are and what they want to be and all that, and I mean Luke Fickell being a little more that doesn't seem like a match to me. That doesn't I'm not saying like Luke Fickell would want the job. I don't know that Florida State would want Luke Fickell, because Florida State wants to go for somebody a little. Although they hired Willie Taggart, so
right? They hired Willie Taggart from
so
Oregon, so it's
maybe
like,
not.
Maybe they do look for a proven, coach in somebody like Fickell. The one that's interesting to me, like Clay Helton at USC has been on the hot seat forever, but I'm of the tinfoil hat that Clay Helton is going to get fired and Urban Meyer is going to end up at USC. So Luke Fickell is not going to USC, but also on the hot seat, Chip Kelly at UCLA. How furious are UC fans going to be if Chip Kelly gets fired, Luke Fickell goes to UCLA,
and they have both of the former
a year
UC
after
coaches?
Mick Cronin goes to UCLA?
I need that to happen now. That just for the humor factor, that would be funny. Both just former UC head
UCLA
coaches
becomes UC West. Like, that's essentially
that would be pretty funny.
The other jobs that they're talking about, hot seat, Arkansas, Illinois. Lovie Smith is on the hot seat apparently at Illinois. Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State.
These
BYU.
are all just places that
nobody's
just don't
gonna-
seem like a match. Like
Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. Tennessee having a really terrible
now
year.
that could be a match.
That's a job that I could see a
But I would-
UC coach taking.
The only
Wait a second.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, the only problem is does Tennessee want to go that route again? Because the Butch Jones experience was not good for them.
How do they have Kirby Smart on this list at number 10?
What?
Kirby Smart is on this list at number 10 at Georgia. Like,
We got to go somewhere
real?
else for our coach's hot seat. That's cracking, dude.
this is a terrible list now that I think about it.
Lost one game. No, yeah, that's categorically insane.
Which Will Muschamp apparently dropped because he's number 17. So that win over Kirby Smart just
That one
flip-flopped
win.
him.
I mean, Georgia fans are crazy, but not that crazy.
There's
They'd have to
no
lose
way.
a couple more games for him
I
to
think
be-
that Tennessee job and the UCLA job are the two ones to look out for because I could
Yeah.
see Fickell going out west and trying to turn around a UCLA program, especially because in a few
I
years,
just feel like he's such a Midwest guy.
in a few years he's going to be able to pay players. That's huge. Think about that. If the UCLA job opened right now and you could get in there with a 5-year contract,
You want to be the first coach to have to deal with that, or do you want to let other people be the cannon
dude,
fodder?
If I'm the coach that gets to sit in a kid's living room and be like, you can come play with me and I'm going to get you get paid while you play with me. That's huge. Of course I want to be the first one. Of course. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Why wouldn't you be the first one for that?
I don't know. Cannon fodder?
I mean,
Like
I
you're
guess
not-
the only thing is like the NCAA will be like, you can't win a national
yeah,
championship here.
like there's a bunch of things to where it could be like,
I was gonna say there's
a lot
enough.
of things could go wrong.
I was gonna say there's enough kinks that I think I'm with Joe where I wouldn't necessarily want to be the first, because the first guy is gonna go in there and probably screw a bunch of things up. on
Okay,
the whole
but
paying
the
player
first guy
thing.
is going to be USC. It's going to be Urban Meyer at USC. He's going to be the one that screws it all up. UCLA is going to be like, hey.
Well, yeah, he's already got the blueprint from Ohio State, so
You know Urban Meyer.
and Florida.
And Utah. And Bowling Green.
Yeah, all of them.
Urban Meyer, mark it down. I think Urban Meyer is going to be the AD at USC because they just fired Lynn Swan. That's
yeah.
my prediction.
And that's the only other thing he has.
Just follows like a trestle type deal.
Right. He goes AD, hires whoever he wants to be the coach, and then he can still have his hand in the whatever and screw over Notre Dame that way. Speaking of Notre Dame, Brian Kelly back in town this weekend for the UC Hall of Fame. 2009 team getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. How do you feel about the entire 2009 football team getting inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Didn't they win the national championship that year?
Oh, they did not.
Wait, so what are they going in for?
They,
Yeah, it seems
they
very
lost
weird.
the bowl game.
Oh,
To Tim Tebow.
So what are they doing?
They
don't
went
think
undefeated
anybody
in the regular
knows.
season. They went undefeated in the regular season. And then Brian Kelly screwed it all up by leaving. I still don't understand why UC fans hate Brian Kelly for what he did. Anybody else, if you're at your job, your regular paying job, and you're being courted by some other company, are you gonna walk in and tell your coworkers, "Hey, by the way, I'm probably leaving on Friday. I'm out of here. I might get this job. I might leave." You don't do that because if it falls through, then you got to walk back in that door and be like, "Hey guys, just kidding. I'm here. I'm part of this team. I love you guys." So
Never in doubt.
You never tell them until it's finally official, and that's what happened with Brian Kelly. He did exactly what Thad Matta did. He did exactly what Sean Miller did when he left.
Both of those two, but okay.
Okay, so you just proved the UC fan point. That's fair. Okay, that's a fair point.
No, I mean I don't agree with them, but I do hate those two. That's all I want to say.
I don't agree with
So
them.
you agree?
Yeah, no,
I don't agree with UC.
Yes.
But like the Xavier fans that think the same way, I'm on board with.
Yes.
I had this existential crisis where I was like, get over it, UC fans. He went to you can't pay as much as Notre Dame. He's doing what's good for his family. And then I was like, oh,
Sean Miller.
Thad Matta. Oh, I get it now. Okay, I won't be as emotional. I promise. I just don't like the fact that they're inducting the entire team. I feel like there's guys that you could induct from that team. Marty Gilliard could be one that you could put in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I was gonna say individual players definitely on the
right,
team.
but the entire team for a team that didn't win the national championship is a weird thing to me. I just don't understand the logic behind it.
Was that just before Isaiah Peed, or was Isaiah Peed on that team? Because Isaiah Peed would be one that I'd put in that hall.
Before.
That was before.
That's before. Okay, I was gonna say, 'cause
Yeah, like,
I knew
like
he was
5
right.
years before.
Was it 5 years? Was it that long? Like,
For you.
Dude,
I mean,
I am old now where everything just blends together. It's
no,
just
I know.
like
Apparently, I am too because I thought
sports
Isaiah
happen.
Pede was like on that team or like a year or so off of that team. Like, I didn't think 5 years away from that team. That's crazy.
I
it
honestly,
might have been like 2 or 3.
Okay. No,
But
that's
for college football, that's like
that
a
is.
lot.
I mean, that is a
That
lifetime.
is a
Yeah, that is a lifetime in
That's
college
like
football.
half of your recruiting
Yeah,
cycle.
right.
That's a big
An entire
difference.
class away.
Joe looks for who was on that 2019. Let's talk a little. Should we talk a little, Xavier? I mean, let's do it. Let's do it.
I mean, it's
Musketeer Madness
it's
is
that
Friday.
time.
Bam, 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 bam. I'm so excited. Xavier basketball back officially now that it's Musketeer Madness. The team this year. Okay, so last year was rough. We can all agree as Xavier fans that was
Last year was going to be rough no matter what.
Right. We knew that going in.
Yep.
I think everybody had this inflated idea like, oh, Travis Steele comes from the same coaching tree and Xavier just keeps replacing their coaches.
Those people like should have been, disappointed then because it was going to be even if Mac had stayed, the writing was on the wall as far as
Right.
like how things just lined up. It was just set up to be one of those years as far as transition because there were so many really good guys going out, and then this kind of like lull with the guys that had come in. So yeah, I mean, even if Mac was there, this was going to be like the type of year. In fact, I'd argue that we had the best possible year that we could have had, either one of them coaching.
Well, and they improved throughout the year. Like you
Right.
saw the team get better. Holy crap. Travis Kelce, I forgot he was on that team. Man,
now I knew Tony Pike was the quarterback.
UC fans are going to eat us up for this one. Zach Collaros, too. Steubenville's own Zach Collaros.
Caleros.
Isaiah Pede.
Isaiah Pede was on that team. Sucker Joe.
Also, yeah, don't try to correct me on how to pronounce Zach Collaros because I hate that kid from the time he was in high school. He's a Steubenville kid.
Agreed.
As a Mooney guy, I can't like that dude ever. So I refuse to pronounce his name however it's pronounced.
Wait, what's his name that retired today? Barwin? Barwin was on that team, wasn't he?
That's a great question.
Because he retired today.
You know who did also retire? Brock Osweiler. He retired today.
Where did he go to? Arizona State? Was he an Arizona State guy?
I didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just
Just
saying.
in general. Oh, you're just throwing out there in general? Oh, okay, cool.
Brock Osweiler.
Travis
the $50
Steele
million
really,
man.
Travis Steele really turned that team around throughout the year. Like you can see them progress where it's like, damn, they actually look like they're doing a little bit better now. I think the other key thing for Xavier going into this year is the fact that you had 3 guys test the NBA waters and come back. And that's going to be huge for this team going forward. I was looking at the roster the other day and I was like, okay, this is a very guard-heavy team. Like you got Paul Scruggs on the team. You got Quentin Gooden.
But that's the way the game is gone.
But has the college game gone that way?
Yes.
College game, I still feel like you need a big man.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're well ahead of the game if you have one, but there are so few that you just
Agree.
load up on
No,
guards.
I agree. And
That's what Villanova has done to
I agree.
launch their thing.
It's going sort of that NBA style of like
It was the
guard
same
play
way
so
with
forth.
Butler. It's like, oh, they're super guard heavy. Like,
Right.
there's so few guys that are big men to go into the sport because they all just are one and done or whatever. That if you have really good guards, then you're set.
Well, and that's where I feel like Xavier is going to be good this year because
They are in a very good position.
they have some decent guards coming back, and then you've got Kiki coming in. Kiki Tandy is the highly anticipated freshman that's going to be playing this year, but they do have that big man. Deontay Miles is a freshman who's 6'11", 208. I don't even remember the last time Xavier had a dude that was 6'11". Stainbrook wasn't 6'11", was he?
No, I'm sitting there. I'm like, Will Cottle maybe. Like Will Cottle
Maybe.
was like in
He
that
could
area,
be,
but even
yeah.
then I think he's probably like 6'9", like something
Right.
like that. Like
6'11"
I was just saying,
that's a tall dude.
Xavier tends to get those guys who are like just slightly bigger than power forwards, but not quite centers. Like they're tweeners, but that's all you need in college. But they always get the super unathletic ones to where it's just like all they can do is just stand there and clog the lane.
Right. Yeah,
Like they're not doing anything else.
Sean O'Mara was 6'10". Thank you, Joe. That's
Yeah,
close.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of guys that are right around that range, but
Hanky McSpanky wasn't. I mean, that dude wasn't
no.
even close. He wasn't sniffing 6'11". 6'11" is a big dude, man.
For college, especially.
But here's the crazy thing: he's 6'11", and I want to say he's only like 200 pounds. So he's one of those like really tall, skinny.
No,
Kenny
yeah,
Freeze.
okay, no.
Yeah,
Well, you know why?
Freeze.
You know why that doesn't count? Because for the entirety of Kenny Freeze's tenure there, we all said the same thing: 7 foot.
Stand up.
I was gonna say he hunched over. He played 6'8" for 4 years, so Kenny didn't count. He was 7 foot only on the stat sheet.
Kenny Freeze do good, coach.
Oh, God.
I did love watching Kenny Freeze. The only thing that sucked about Kenny Freeze was when he got.
There was a lot of things that sucked about Kenny Freeze.
Well,
it was
the-
constant disappointment.
The worst was when he got punched in the face and did the Carlton crawl to the middle of the Cintas Center.
Yeah, well.
When Yancey Gates punched him in the face and he just Carlton crawled, no legs moving. All right. Well, anyways, I feel good about Xavier basketball this year.
It should be a good year.
Xavier or UC this year? Who's going to be the better team?
Xavier. UC had their moment last year, but Xavier takes it back.
Hot take. Burr, 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 burr. I agree. I think Xavier's going to be the better team.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Xavier. I
Well-
legitimately thought that going into last year, that UC was going to be the better
honestly-
team, and they should have been, and they were.
Well, and honestly, UC now has to deal with a first-year head coach. So that's
Right.
the other thing. They brought that dude up from NKU. We'll see how he does. Like you are now UC has to go through those growing pains of trying to get everything to fit in with how the new
they
coach
also had
goes.
quite a bit of turnover though too, didn't they? Like they lost like of their big name guys. Like I thought they lost like 2 or 3 of them. So.
Yeah, Cumberland is probably the dude, and that's the one that the guys at Pardon the Punctuation were talking up, where they were like, he's gonna be a better pro than the ball kid, and I'm like, oh, we'll see about
Nobody
that.
that stays to the senior year in college is going to be better than anybody. Let me tell you, if you're still there in your senior
That's a
year
good
in college, I can tell you flat out,
That's a
you're
good
not going to be a
point.
better pro than anybody. Period.
But I am super pumped for Xavier basketball this year. It's the first time in a while that I've been pumped for Xavier basketball.
No, it's the first time at least in 2 years.
Right, that's a while.
Okay, all right, good talk.
This has been a super fun show, man.
Yeah.
We got through a lot.
Good to
in
get back
50
into
minutes.
it, man.
I know it feels good. So here's what I'm gonna do. Going into next week, I'm gonna talk to Zac Taylor. Our game is tonight.
That's just going to be the weekly segment.
Yep.
What did you talk about Zac Taylor?
Was Zac Taylor? I'm going to be friends with him. That's my goal. Is to be friends with
somebody
Zac Taylor.
recognize Zac Taylor this week?
Also, I came really close to trying to ask him to do the show, but then I realized that he didn't want people to know who he was. I was like, I'll wait until.
Screw.
But then I was telling myself, I'm like, dude, go see Emma. Go talk to Emma.
Yeah,
Go,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I want.
yeah.
If they get to be friends, then I'm
That's
in,
your
right?
in. Yeah.
That's how I got to do it. Because then I get.
Then you bring me, and you're like, you already talked to this black dude.
right.
What's up? It's a natural progression.
But it's all gonna be that's the kids because I can't talk about the Bengals being terrible, so I have to be like, hey, Jude and Emma seem to be really good friends. We should hang out sometime. You want to get a beer? And then I'm friends with Zac Taylor.
Want to get a beer and be on my show? Is more what I
Well,
hope you do.
Hey, want to be a beer and be my best friend?
Do you want to get a beer?
On
The
my
show. Yeah,
yes.
exactly. So that's the goal, is to get Zac Taylor on the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a super fun time.
Tell your friends.
Yes, be sure to share out the show, help us out, subscribe, rate, review. We really appreciate it.
Helps more than you know.
Absolutely. You can follow the show in between episodes at Craft B Sports. You can follow Scott at ScottyK_Jr. Follow me at Mike Burlon. Follow Joe at JoeGoalie4. If you guys have any hot Cincinnati takes that you want to drop on us, hit up the drunk line 440-37-DRUNK. You can leave a voicemail. You can text us, whatever. We're happy to talk about it on the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cheers, everybody.
Peace.